Hey guys, I want to welcome you to the Heat Press for Profit Lounge here at the Printing United Expo. This is a place for decorators to learn, connect, and be inspired here. We get to share this little round table, I guess it's not round, with some of the industry's best, and I'm real excited about our topic here today. Each day here, we've been hosting conversations on different topics that are going to help apparel decorators grow their business. So if you guys are just walking around or tuning in from the internet land, you found the right spot, and hopefully we could help your business achieve your goals, or at least inspire some ideas to increase the efficiency in your business. Now, of course, my name is Dave Connor from Stahls Transfer Express, and our topic here today is retail details, custom branding ideas to increase value in your printed apparel and efficiency in your print shop. I have been looking forward to this session for the past 3 days here, and I'm very excited to welcome Greg Everett from Sanmar here and Daring Livingston from Livingston Systems with us. We're going to sit down, chat, and share some experiences and some insights with us. So first up, we'll start with you, Darren. Let us know a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in the industry, and what you guys do. I want to say the fantastic things that you guys do at Livingston Systems.
So I've been in the industry since about 2010. And all we do are platens or pallets, depending on whether you're screen or DTG, what you call them, but flat surfaces to decorate apparel. And that's all we do.
And the innovation, we're going to get into it a lot here, but the innovation that you guys drive forward, the efficiency you bring to apparel decorators is just paramount. And you have one of the best products that I love, that if you are familiar with any of the Transfer Express videos or any education through Stahls, we use this thing all the time, the tag-along platen. But we're going to get into that in just a second. Greg, introduce yourself here, how long you've been in the apparel decorating industry, and a little bit of what Sanmar does for those unfamiliar. I mean, everybody should know what Sanmar does at this point, but if they don't, let them know what you guys do.
So my name's Greg Everett. Grew up in the industry and have been with Sanmar for 11 years. Sanmar, we just celebrated 51 years. Started originally as a screen printer and converted into the wholesale industry. Based on having a do the right thing mentality. So we have 8 warehouses around the country for speed of market, and one of the best things is we have strong relationships with our affiliate partners like Stahls. So the team that I work on, Decorator and Digital Solutions, we try and provide a resource for anybody that does screen print, embroidery, heat transfer to be able to find the equipment that they don't have, or a partner in decoration if they need somebody.
And I'm really glad you're here, because a little bit of what we're going to talk about here is accessible relabeling. So no need to get that entire sewing department in, those woven labels. It seems like printed tags have just exploded in popularity to add value to apparel, and it's something that I use all the time. And so let's talk about how that inside label, the inside print location, has kind of shifted in the industry. I know that we could kind of even couple this with a double-sided question of the kind of shift from woven, sewn-in labels that had to be cut out to now the tearaway.
So yeah, you've seen an evolution, I'd say, over the last 10 years that really, I'd say, evolved aggressively in the last 3. And a big part of that is your Gildan's, Porting Companies, Fruits, Comfort Colors. They wanted that brand availability and they wanted the recognition. So when somebody got it in store, they wanted to be able to ask for it again. And in today's environment, for companies, they want their influencers, they want their company, that's a place that they can market themselves without it having to be overbearing for their end user. So it's kind of an extra hit in marketing space. So where we had maybe 2 styles 10 years ago, we have 60 plus styles today that you can tear it out. Some leave the country of origin in place. Others, it's a complete tearaway. It gives you an opportunity for a completely fresh start. Comfort Colors, I would say, and we talked a little bit about this earlier, is they don't want to tear that away. That's part of the authenticity to the garment. So I think you're still going to see a little bit of that woven label, but in general today, that is a free space for companies to take advantage for marketing value.
Absolutely, and that's one thing that I talk about it all the time. The marketing potential especially for custom decorators when you're doing events, the 5Ks, the farmers markets, or any of those large events, putting your own business in the back there. I always say, like, maybe it's once every 3 years that everybody needs a t-shirt, whether it's for a business event, a family reunion, or the kids softball team or something like that. So when they are looking for somebody to do their custom printing, they pull that shirt out of their closet that they got a couple years ago and go, man, I love the way this fits, feels, the finish of the garment, it lasted, who printed this? And having the ability to have that tag in there, it's not available on the outside, so it's not like a sponsorship walking around, but you're able to have that marketing potential to attract new business and new customers in there too. Now, you also touched on the brand recognition of the tags. Of course, the comfort colors, especially in like the Etsy space, we see really, really popular. Well, they'll even advertise that in their listing, saying that it's printed on comfort colors. But on the flip coin of that, I always say that we're adding value to apparel by removing the tag and relabeling it. Just because of the preconceived notion with maybe Gildan, Fruit of the Loom, Hanes, who have those 25 packs at Target or Walmart that sit on the shelves. And so immediately when somebody sees that Fruit of the Loom tag, it could be a completely different garment than those bulk packs, but they still conceive that as like, oh wow, that is like pennies for a t-shirt. And so how much did this decorator charge it to? And I'm talking people outside of the industry, the vast majority of people out there. So that's, I think, a great lead-in with the tearaway tags and how things have shifted to the tag-along platen and the innovation that you guys have at Livingston Systems. So can you kind of talk about the thought process of developing those innovative and efficient platens and pallets for both heat transfers and screen printing?
So I think he's right on the timing. About 10 years ago, about 2012, what we do are solve problems. And I keep an ear to the industry where people are having their issues, because that's where we can make our money. We want to do these innovative solutions. We patent most of our stuff, and we're not a low-cost provider of rectangles. And I kept hearing how people are turning down these print jobs because they've got this neck tag that they got to print, and it's a whole other round around their screen print machine for this tiny little thing that costs them just the same amount, but they can't charge the same. And it was just this eureka moment. I can still remember walking through my shop when all of a sudden it hit me, and I stopped and I looked over and I'm like, I need some plywood. And I remember like the next hour making this thing, and I put it together and I'm like, there's no way nobody's not thought of this yet. And I did a little research, and I called my patent attorney, and like we got this thing going right away. And that's kind of how it went.
So it all started with just some plywood.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Taking the idea and immediately applying it, and then I guess it was natural then to bring it to heat printing, because I really see the value in it. I use it all the time, not just because, I mean, there are some platens and pallets. I was used to working on some automatic screen printing machines that did kind of have that triangle shape. So at least you had some semblance of a shoulder shape. But a lot of what you see in, the heat presses that we see around here just at these booths, a rectangle. Humans are not rectangles. And so you're not only giving that opportunity to be able to relabel it, but I feel like you're giving that opportunity for it to match the human shape, align it on the platen easier. So, you're improving the efficiency just right there.
Yeah, we see that on the heat pressable pallet and in screen printing. One of the feedback that we get often is, as we're loading it, that neck goes right into position. So they're loading it just as fast. So they're not losing any time on the screen print side of things.
Absolutely. And then, even with, I align the shoulder seams right up to it, and you just check your sides. I just absolutely love the thing. You guys know I absolutely love this thing here. So, we talked a little bit about adding that value. So does it change the public perception then of how much a shirt could cost? And this could go both ways. For a higher end shirt that does have the label in, say like a Nike or an OGIO or something like that, even the Mercer and Metal line that you guys are releasing too and carrying now. How does the private label add or detract from the value of a t-shirt?
Well, it's interesting looking some of our e-commerce customers, right? They found probably about a 20 to 30% lift when they offered a private label neckline versus a standard industry brand. So that's where our district, Porting Company, and Sport Tech, which are really built, we manufacture, bring to market, and warehouse and distribute. We don't outward brand those. So they're perfectly designed for the Spirit Pack, everyday value, and use. It definitely elevates. I'd say, what that price point is depends on the market that you're servicing, but it offers like you were mentioning earlier, an annual kind of residual. So when they like the shirt, they're going to come back for it again next year because now you are the source. They're not trying to find that brand anywhere else.
Absolutely. And I mean, I guess coming back into, if we're saying you're going to put your own brand on it, or maybe even somebody else's as that value add for your customers, can we talk a little bit about the legality of the labeling information for inside tags? You said some of them even leave like the country of origin in there, so it can't be misconstrued, and you still have you're safe reselling that.
Correct. Our most popular tee, the ST350 Performance Tee, actually has a tearaway brand, but the size, country of origin, import RN, all that is left behind. So right underneath with his tag list, you can basically take that lower tag away out of the equation and press it or screen it, and then you have both there and available. So if they want to cut it away later because it tickles their neck, that's fine. Your brand and the content that you just placed on it is now there permanently.
Yeah, and that's we could talk blue in the face about that, the potential of all of that. It's really, really cool. And coming back to the tag along, Platten, I know here that we're at Printing United. I have to congratulate you on winning the Pinnacle Award from last year for the innovative nature and just the importance of that tag along Platten for the heat printing industry. Did the screen printing version bring that as well?
Yeah, so the screen printing version won the Intertech Award. The heat press version got the product award. So we got two, and that was in 2021, which we didn't have a Printing United happen that year. So
yeah,
unfortunately, we didn't get to come out here and like show everybody and cheering on. But I still have like the trophies that I bring and set on the product.
Keep in your office.
Yeah. I want to touch on that value add. So when you've got that tag that's an inch long by like a ½ inch wide, it's pretty small. When you go to the size of what we can do on that tag-along HP, it's 2,000% bigger. So that value add, it really depends on what the customer can do with that. If they get creative with that, they may have to put some country of origin and stuff in there. There's some limitations, but that's where I see the value. And not only just the value, but when I am shopping, and this is just me, I avoid the tags I can't rip out because I'm not good with laundry. So I'm the one that's going to shrink it and make it look weird, and it's always going to be sticking up. And my wife is always poking that thing back down for me.
I check my tag right now.
Right. So personally, when I see a printed tag done well, I think that's a huge value add.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, from my own experience, we were doing some hot market one night at one of the other print shops that I worked at, and we were doing these $70 Super Bowl jackets, right? I don't know if I could say that legally. I guess cut that out, Joe, when it goes to the internet. But even bringing that, so you kind of touched on we touched on the efficiency of using it, but adding the extra handling. So even if you're running it around the press again, but the extra handling of having to fold the shirt back on a cart, wheel it back to another location, and we were using one of the small tag locations, but even with the ink and a automatic tag press, we were still having so much spoilage. So being able to reduce that with the heat transfer technology, I think, is a huge benefit. So was that a natural progression to bring that to heat transfers?
One of the big challenges is just getting the story across. It's so simple, people don't really understand what's going on. And I was guilty as well. It took me years to realize I can put this on a heat press. And then when I finally figured that out, Stahls said, this looks like a great idea.
Yeah.
And that has been going on for about 1.5 years now. And it's been a great relationship. A lot of value to all your customers. And I want to go back to the efficiency. So one thing that, so you can either do it in half the time or you can double your output, which is kind of the same thing, but then again, it's not. Like, let's say that you're busy and you're missing, dinners or your, kid's soccer game. If you can do these things in half the time, or let's say that you have so many orders, on the other end, and you need to, or you want to increase, you're turning down orders. You can either double your output or you can have extra time. Like there's more than one way to view how this can affect your business.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a big part of I put together an entire postcard kind of talking about the efficiency of using, gang sheets of screen printed transfers, because it is zero cost. You're paying for the sheet. You're able to put the inside label or any other prints on the available space on a sheet. And everybody could fit a tiny little 2x2, or a whole bunch of them for every single size you're going to make. You could fit a whole bunch of those on the side of a gang sheet, and then you're pressing it anyway. And so you're adding that extra location. But I put together this entire sheet. If, say, on average, the average decorator does 1.6 impressions per minute on a heat press using a quick apply transfer, like a screen printed transfer. So that boils out to about 100 impressions per hour, or 800 impressions per 8-hour shift if you're really rolling. On certain presses, I like to boast that I could do it a little bit faster, so that you talk to that efficiency standpoint of it. But being able to do 50 shirts on a heat press with 3 locations. So you're doing, say, a left chest, you're doing a back print, a full back print, and that inside set tag. So 3 locations, 100 shirts in an hour or less. The profitability then, when you're talking about you're adding value, because you're charging your customer for that additional print location, which even I did some pricing comps for what the retail value would be of it, whether you were selling wholesale or selling retail, and I couldn't actually get any other competitor out there, because going into every online print shop that would give me a price for a 1-color, 3-location print, nobody actually even sells that, because it's hard for some decorators to add that. It doesn't fit into their shop, right?
Yeah, they turn down those orders. I've been talking to people all week about how, if I had this, I know what jobs. I'm going to be calling these people back up and saying, hey, I can now do this.
Yeah.
And offering people tags that are not asking for tags, because there is no cost.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, I want to go back to the efficiency too. We just keep bouncing back and forth between the marketing value, the efficiency, is that I will even use that for, say, sleeve prints, to not have to adjust any press setup. Even for, say, I'm sure on the screen printing presses as well, you don't necessarily need to go and swap all the pallets out. On a heat press, you don't need to change the press setup. You don't need to be adjusting pressure at all, just to be able to loop that tag or the sleeve then right up. You always get you get the seam that comes from the supplier, kind of right aligned with the shoulder seam. Makes it so easy to line up, make sure it's straight, and just be able to hit that in all one go. So it is really powerful to put that all together and make it happen. Now, I want to ask, kind of moving back to the branding aspect of it, and this one could be for you, Greg, and maybe Darren, you could kind of touch into it as well. The hem tags. So we see a lot of those higher scale brandings, and we kind of talked about how the inside sewn in label, and I've seen more decorators shift to the printed tag, but the hem tags on the sleeves, the bottom of shirts, how does that affect the perceived value of a shirt?
I think it depends on the industry, right? So we're definitely seeing a trend in that direction, which you and I, or the three of us actually, were talking about that for neck labels using locker tags or mixed media efforts. It goes the same in any location, whether it's on a collar, a cuff, the bottom of the hem, and in some markets in retail, we went to the Knights game last night, and they were selling shirts minimum $35, right? Which we all know what that is. Up to $120 for a hoodie. Now that one was a full custom at that point, but still, in some of those environments, they want that locker tag. They want the retail look, the Knights alternative view, which you can present and provide. So 100% adds value, allows you to sell that t-shirt for $35 instead of $25 when it doesn't cost you $10 difference.
I'm glad you mentioned the custom garments too, because I think relabeling in some way could help kind of bring that uniqueness to apparel, if it's not just, that's a Gildan 5000 or something like that. So as decorators are increasingly starting to turn towards maybe more custom manufacturing in some aspect to have their garments stand out, like the Knights, how can you use affordable wholesale garments to still stand out and be unique in the retail space?
I mean, retail is about being soft, right? Having the right fit, being soft, and if it washes well. So if you can nail those three things, including your decoration that goes with it, you have a home run. So the last 2 years, we saw brands that were specific to maybe a Gildan or Port or District or Bella, and all of a sudden they couldn't get a black shirt or a gray hoodie. and you're like, okay, what brand do I go to and how do I do this? But my end user on the website or on my invoice, it called out a specific brand. So they had to start ripping out the tags to be like, you need a 100% cotton shirt, I gotcha. As long as it's consistent, we're good, it washes well. So they started creating alternative, right? If I can't get A, I'll get B, then C, then D. So I think consumers are used to having now a variety of fabrics without knowing the manufacturer. And so if you want to up your game, go to a ring spun, combed ring spun, possibly a side seam, right? Some of the brands are really big on that. I think it depends on your consumer and what you're looking for. But that's where you're going to get the value is again, washability, softness, and reliability of inventory.
So how would you say that apparel suppliers are even bringing some innovation to drive that forward? Loaded question.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of different things that go into that, right? So there's new fabrics that are trying to match retail. You mentioned Mercer Metal earlier. It has one of the most beautiful hands and corporate look tees. I call it, your Bay Area tee, if you're going to wear it with the lightweight hoodie. We're doing the pre-treated on our 100% cotton in the tri-blends, right? So that way, as we talk about, the functionality with the DTG manufacturing, you can do the inside and the outside at the same time, and you're not spot treating each location. So as a manufacturer, not just a distributor, we're trying to be on the forefront of that evolution. At the same point, we're not fast fashion either. And so that's where I talk about the reliability of having a product that ideally tests the time of consumer demand, and then being able to keep up with fast fashion by the accents that we're adding to the garment.
That's awesome. I'm glad you mentioned the innovation in part of that too, talking about direct to garment. And we kind of spoke as we were warming up about the ability to use a heat press almost with the tag along platen as you're doing pre-treats, to even add a heat transfer label to do a mixed media.
Right, which is another one of those things that came to me well after we've been working with Stahls. I've been getting a lot of requests from the DTG market for a tag-along version, but it comes off wet. So already you've got to move this thing from your DTG pallet onto a conveyor or a heat press without ruining it. Mm-hmm. And to add another wet spot inside of the shirt, you increases your spoilage possibility quite a percent.
Yeah, and that'll wipe right off.
So pretty much every DTG process out there uses a heat press to press their pre-treat. So why not throw a tag-along HP on there, pull it through, and while you're pre-treating it, put a goof-proof or your new multicolor on there, the time, temperature, pressure, the windows of both the pre-treat and those transfers, they mesh very well. So again, you're removing a handling and you're putting on just a transfer, so very low cost, no extra time, and now you've got this extra value that you can charge your customer.
Oh yeah, I love how we just keep seeing more and more uses for this as we go on. But while we're still on the topic of innovation, I have to talk about, just because I am a super print nerd here at this point, I have to talk about the TagBot.
Okay.
I saw that thing, and I'm going to have to come over here at the floor. I'm glad it's here because I want to see it. Just, talk about kind of the innovation of that. Was efficiency really in mind when you were developing that?
Yeah, so it started with just the tag-along pallet, and it's got its own built-in efficiencies. But with an automatic machine, you got this thing rotating, and sometimes on its own. You're not telling it to go; it's on a timer. So pulling that neck tag through, I had some concerns. So we partnered with Ronco out of California. He is this genius M&R tech, and said, these are our problems. So this guy worked with us, and he came up with a solution, basically a robot that pops the tag up over automatically after you load your shirt. It senses it, you have a little foot pedal, pops it in. It is so fast, so seamless. And then the unloader, once it comes around, it senses the shirt, peels it automatically. So when you're loading and unloading this, it does not slow down your machine.
Pull it right off.
Hardly at all. We have a customer that just installed one a few weeks ago, and we were doing some video, and they're pretty new with it. And the video that she, this raw video she sent us, I'm like, this is not great. She's saying, in 200 shirts, it slows the machine down maybe 2 minutes. And I'm like, oh, we can't use that. And then we thought about it. It's like, well, wait a minute. She's telling us that she's getting 100 shirts a minute tagged. That's the story. and they're not touching it any more than if they were just doing the front.
Oh yeah, I love those customer stories too. Greg, do you have any customer stories that you could share about like some inside labeling that's brought a brand, elevated them or increased their efficiency or anything like that?
Well, I mean, kind of like your Super Bowl, right? I want to be a little bit careful on proprietary information. But as an industry, right, our team works with the decoration, but also kind of the e-commerce space, some of the digitally native customers. And I would say that more and more are trending in needing to have that to separate their business, where they led with the neck label, and now they're, whether it was inventory over the last 2 years, but also realizing that build your own brand, that story and consistent relationship that they keep coming back for. One thing we haven't touched on is, do you start adding in QR codes that can be right next to the neck label, right, for the size that Darren was just speaking to earlier, and now you have a story in a landing page that they can go to, whether it's talking about the manufacturing team, whether it's a landing page about the process, or if it's, like Samware has the Canvas for Good, talking about the power of a t-shirt. It's not just a t-shirt, right? And can you go into that QR code and now it tells a broader story and bigger message?
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up because I do have that on the last, like where are we going here with really the t-shirt branding, the retail details, and as you say, like as it comes into, I mean, I went to a barbecue restaurant in Fort Worth during the Impression Show, right? With some of the best barbecue that I had. I bought a t-shirt from them and it had an inside label. Said where it came from. I mean, it said where the barbecue restaurant on the outside too, but on the inside it had the label too. And it's just that extra detail, that added touch that, yeah, sure, I paid $26, $27 for a t-shirt on a Next Level 3600, but I mean, I'm in the industry. I know that there's that cost that's in there, but did it cost more just because of that? But when you talk about what's coming next, you talk about the QR codes, because we've seen even print shops use that. Like, where does this shirt come from? They're adding them even sometimes on the outside as part of their logo, incorporating them in the designs for fundraising for teams to just be able to have that there. So maybe this one for both of you guys. What's the future holding here for t-shirt branding? Is it maybe some near-field communication chips that are going to someday be sewn in? Is it QR codes? Is it just even improved efficiency on what we already have here and building on that? So what do you guys think?
I think the first thing that we're going to see is multicolor. With like the ink cups and like the screen printed transfers. It's mostly one color stuff.
Even with direct to film and the cost of Ultra Color Max, absolutely.
And on the TagBot, we use one print head, so we have one color. With Transfer Express's new multicolor transfers, with DTG coming in, we're going to start seeing multicolor tags, which there's not a single shirt in my closet that has a multicolor tag. So I'm really excited to see, where these creative people are going to go with all the different colors and options with just the colors.
I'm glad you mentioned the multicolor too, because even now with like DTF, the Ultra Color Max that we have here too, is that it's really changing the public perception. I saw it a lot here at Printing United when multicolor prints are usually quite thick, especially in terms of heat transfer technology, where direct-to-film is so thin, so lightweight, that it could be against your skin all day and you don't even know.
Yeah.
So, Greg, what do you think? Where are we going in the future here?
Yeah, I wish I had that magic 8-ball. I mean, RFIDs have been discussed for years, and the costs, right? You got to have the hundreds of thousands of units to really bring the cost down by garment. Retail's starting to use it. Legally for authentic garments, you're seeing that with handbags and polos and different, hard goods in a way. Today, in our industry, I think they're competing right now. It's kind of like having Blu-ray versus DVD. Which one's going to win? Some people are testing it out. Near field is definitely interesting to me because it doesn't require the battery. It's something you can apply post-production without having to have it in the manufacturing side. Where I think it'll be the slowest to evolve in the manufacturing globally is that you're going to have a rollover. So even if we decide to add it today and sewn in, how many units do we have on shelf that's going to have to push through the system? That could be a full year before we could say it's viable in any major mainstream execution.
And that's something too. I mean, from your end, like the supply chain coming in, we know that everything is kind of equalized now, post last year where we all ran into some issues. So I want to congratulate you guys on that as well. But before we wrap this all up, I think we're at our time. I mean, we could talk all day. I really enjoyed talking with you guys. I want to open it up for any audience questions. If we have anybody on the internet with some questions on our live stream, if we have anybody here in the audience, we're talking about retail details, anything that could add value to your apparel or efficiency in your printing process. None? All right. Well, I do really appreciate you guys coming. And I have one question. Aside from on the garment itself, do you guys think there's anything else that could, I guess, increase the perceived value of a t-shirt, be it a hang tag or any other style of packaging or anything when we're talking about selling retail?
I think just be creative. You've got a large billboard there that is fairly new, and when you see that shirt on the hanger, it's exposed. Like, take advantage of it.
I would say that from a kitting perspective, yes, there are different areas that you can do. Again, you got to know your audience and where that value is. For us, environmental, e-conscious customers and USA Made are naturally more expensive, and we're seeing them sell very well. So whether it's a recycled reprieve with All Made, right? If it's our ReTee and the Porting Company, if you're seeing 100% in poly, I mean, we just doubled down on 16 styles that are carbon neutral, right? So
awesome.
You take as much as you can out of the pipeline, and then coupons to kind of follow up the remaining footprint in the ecosystem. So that'll naturally raise, I think, the perceived value from the starting point, but you need the customer that wants to appreciate that as well.
That's awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here in the Heat Press for Profit Lounge. For you, those of you out there in the internet land are still here at Printing United, we've got one more session before we wrap up the entire week here, and that's going to be the blueprint for brand relevance. Jay Bussell from the Equipment Zone and our very own Jenna Sackett from Stalls will be coming in. Of course, stay tuned for much more here coming from the Heat Press for Profit group and Stalls coming out. You'll see this content here on the internet coming up in a little bit. And of course, we'll take this show on the road, and we'll probably be back at Long Beach next year. So guys, thank you so much again. I hope you have the great rest of the show here at Printing United. I know it was fantastic for me to be back in front of people in a trade show of this scale, seeing the innovation that you guys bring. I still have to go pop over there and see that tag bot in real life for myself. Can we get one of those for the Heat Press too?
It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yes.
Like, I would love to see like a big oval multi-station heat press machine. That would be fun.
Speaking of that, even like the innovation in direct-to-garment and the machines that automate with multi-platen stations moving through, where even I think it's Rock was developing, and I saw Made Lab kind of doing the heat press stamper. So now even on a oval press or a carousel press, you could have one of the stations actually be applying heat transfers or even curing when we're talking about using digital squeegees and stuff too. So the innovation is ripe. If you guys are this is your first time here at Printing United, we hope to see you again because there's just so much innovation here. But I want to thank you guys for attending and hanging out, and thank you guys for joining us. Until next time, I'm Dave. Happy pressing, guys.